Hey friends, it's Anna, and welcome to a very festive December plan with me. We are going to be setting up my bullet journal and getting ready for the last month of 2024, which is surreal. I have some special holiday spreads to share with you guys, and I absolutely adore how this whole Christmassy, wintry setup turned out. Grab some tea or a peppermint mocha, get cozy, and let's start journaling. As always, we're going to start off with my cover page. I'm using my Tombow Furonosuke to write the title. This and my 005 Sakura Micron Fine Liner are actually the only black pens I'm going to use throughout this whole setup for all my titles and borders and things like that. I'm writing Hello December in 2 different fonts. For the calligraphy for December, I added some flourishes off a few of the letters to make it extra elegant. And now I'm going to start building a bit of a collage around the title. I'm starting with some washi tape. I showed you guys all the tapes I had gathered from my different sets to use in this setup. And now I'm also adding a few different scraps of paper to the page. I'm just using a regular old Elmer's glue stick to glue them in. I'm pulling from a combination of pages torn out of an old music book, tea-stained paper, pages torn out from various journals, note cards, just a hodgepodge of stuff I had available. I normally draw in my journal to create my monthly setups and then do this scrapbooky style in my reading journal, but I've been having so much fun creating themes with all these paper scraps recently. I just made a fairy tale setup in my reading journal with a lot of these same supplies, and I loved it so much, so I just wanted to do something similar again. But it is the month of December, so of course we had to make it a wintry holiday theme, and that's where this washi tape comes in. This is the Jolly Days set from the washi tape shop. They so kindly sent me these tapes and a few of their other holiday tapes recently, and this set was hands down my favorite. I love the watercolor art style and the more subtle colors. You guys know I love using muted earthy tones in my journal. So I'm pulling some of the images and adding them to the collage here, along with some more of the other tapes. I'm going to be building most of my spreads around this Jolly Days set, but for my gift tracker spread in a few pages, you guys will see I'm going to change up the style a bit and bring in some other holiday tapes. I'll link this set though and all the other supplies I'm using for this setup in the description box below, and I also have an affiliate code with the washi tape shop, so you can always use my code ANNABRUNS10 for 10% off over there. This tape has kiss cut lines, so it's nice that I can just peel off each image. I didn't have an exact plan for the layout, so at this point I'm just building on the collage until it looked good. Once I had kind of built up these 2 corners, I felt like this really needed a frame to bring it all together. So I'm going to bring in a few colors to do that and add some doodles. I tried to find some colors that match the washi tape well, so I'm using a mix of Tombow pens, Ohuhu pens, and zebra mild liners. I'm doing the frame in this cool gray, and I also used this color to add a drop shadow to the title. I think that helped it pop a little bit more and not get lost behind all the collaging. Now I'm drawing some doodles with the empty space in the frame. We have some holly leaves with berries, and then just a basic vine with berries again in the bottom right. I'm also adding some little stars and sparkles around the edges. I drew all these at first with the brush pens, and now I'm going back over them with that black Sakura Micron. I'm actually not sure how I like these doodles. I mean, I like how they look on their own, but within the overall layout, I don't know, it looks a little cluttered to me now. But despite that, I still love how this cover page turned out and the slightly vintage Christmas vibes it's giving. Moving over to this left page, I'm using this space for a calendar and habit tracker, starting with the calendar on top, and I'm using that capital sans serif font for the titles on this page. As you'll see, I'm sticking with this font and the fancy calligraphy with flourishes lettering throughout the setup. I think it looks really good when you have two contrasting fonts and then you use those same ones throughout the setup to create kind of a sense of cohesion throughout the different pages. Working on my lettering is a goal I really want to work on in the new year, and I actually just started a class on finding your own lettering style, which I'm taking through the wonderful sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance productivity, and more. I'm currently taking Find Your Style, How to Develop Your Own Lettering Aesthetic, which has already been so interesting to delve into the world of typography and practice my lettering intentionally. I've already made a whole list of classes I want to take about lettering and calligraphy because this is something I incorporate in my journal every week, and I'd love to start exploring more and really developing this skill. And being a member of Skillshare makes that so easy because I have all of these creative classes right here available to me. This community has resources for so many topics, and they're always adding more. Like, they recently added 3 whole class categories: creative career, creativity and inspiration, and AI innovation. I know the new year is coming up, so if you have any creative goals for 2025, this community is the perfect place to give you any tools and knowledge you need to get going. And Skillshare has given me a special deal to share with you guys. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So be sure to grab that while it's still available, and it's a perfect opportunity to go ahead and see what goals and classes you might want to put on your New Year's resolutions. Like I said, I'm very excited to improve my lettering. Getting back into our journal here, I'm making a section at the bottom of this page for some habit trackers. I have weekly habits listed on top with an open circle to fill in when I complete them each week. And I also normally write the date I got it done above the circle, which is helpful so I can know like when exactly I watered the plants, for example. On the bottom here, I'm making 3 mini calendars for 3 different daily habits. I'll label each box and then add the dates. And for each day throughout the month that I do that habit, I'll use this beige color to color in that day. Here's an example of where we are in my November habits to give you an idea. We're going to finish off this spread by decorating that empty space to the left of the calendar. I'm again starting with a base of paper and then adding some washi tape on top of that. This theme was putting me so much in the Christmas spirit. I got my first peppermint mocha of the season. I put on Spotify's Christmas jazz playlist while I was making this. I tried to find some similar Christmas jazz music to use in this video actually, so you guys could also hopefully experience the cozy holiday vibes I was feeling. To finish off this spread, we're going to add some more sparkles around the collages. I add these little stars to a lot of my setups. I just think they're so cute and add a whimsical feeling to whatever the theme is. I don't know if I will ever get tired of adding them to my spreads. On to these next pages, which is where I do the bulk of my monthly planning. Starting out with my December log on this left side, this is where I record all my events, travel, appointments, etc. I'm writing the title up top with that fancy calligraphy font again. I really can't wait to improve my calligraphy so I can know where to put my flourishes better. but this spread is ridiculously easy to set up, which is one of the reasons why I've been loving using it as my monthly calendar. I have 3 columns. The 2 on the left of this line is where I'm writing out the dates and days of the week, and each line on the right is for writing out whatever needs to be recorded for that day. Like I said, events, travel, big deadlines. And then I'm also going to add horizontal lines throughout the page for splitting up the weeks. This is by far the fastest spread in my setup. It literally takes me under 5 minutes, and I think the full row across the page actually gives me more space to write things than when I was doing a boxed calendar. I abbreviated December in the title up top, so I would have a little leftover space to decorate the sides. I really like that this washi tape has some bigger pictures, but also smaller pictures for filling different size spaces. And I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to doing this collage style, so you'll see me move some stuff around. I actually cut out a lot of footage of me placing things in different spots before eventually moving it. I mean, I try to show it a little bit, but if I kept all of it in the video, it would be way too long. So like here, I'm moving all of these elements on the left up and adding another strip of tape. And you'll see once I've finished up this right page as well, I'll come back and make a few more changes. That's the blessing and curse of this type of journaling. On this next page, I'm making a section for notes and tasks, and I'm bringing in some of this cream paper that I tore out from another journal again. I'm going to use this for the tasks area. This is my running monthly to-do list and where I look first when I make task lists on my weeklies. Above this, the notes area is just for any random thoughts I want to jot down for the month, whether that's certain intentions I write down before the month starts or reminders I might want to note throughout December. I often have random things like a new bedtime routine I want to write out and try, or making a note that I want to shop for some new tripods during Black Friday. That's something I wrote in November. So I like having a space that's more prominent where I can record stuff like that. I'm drawing a thin frame around the notes, and then I'm going to decorate the little area in between the sections. I've been using this general layout for my monthlies for a while, and I do like it, but I might try something new starting in the new year. I'm about to start setting up my 2025 journal actually, and I'm toying with the idea of doing a 12-week year setup, or at least trying that system in the new year. I haven't thought exactly of how that would translate to my bullet journal. The 12-week year is basically just a system where you make your quote-unquote annual goals for a 12-week cycle instead, because it's easier to prioritize and plan within that shorter time frame. If you have tried this system or know any helpful tips for planning this way, please let me know. And please let me know any journal spread ideas you have for a new bullet journal. If you have a favorite layout that you think is a game changer, or if you have any ideas you'd like to see me try, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. I'm finishing off this spread with a few more washi stickers. I think this arrow that says Santa is super fitting because we're about to flip to my gift list spread on the next page. And I also realized that the music book I've been pulling from had this phrase, "a charming little piece," which I thought would be so sweet to include on the page. Next up, we have a special holiday spread before we get into my December weeklies. This is my gift list where I can keep track of all the gifts I'm getting for my family and friends for Christmas. This is an incredibly essential spread for me because both my husband and I have big families and a lot of holiday shopping to keep track of. I'm titling it Season of Giving. I like trying to come up with more poetic sounding titles for my spreads instead of just labeling this gift tracker. So I'm drawing 2 identical tables on each page. They're going to be the exact same thing, and I already counted how many people I needed to have on this list, so I knew how big to make the tables. I'm using that same frame style as on the previous page, and then I'm going to start dividing it into columns. I'm using the exact same table layout as from last year because that one worked really well, and it was easy just to keep it the same and not have to think of a new layout. The different columns are for writing each person, the gift they're getting, and then I'm going to use some abbreviations and write BAW. This stands for bought, arrived, and wrapped, so I can keep track of which things I've ordered and if I'm still waiting on them to arrive or if I've already wrapped them. And then I also have a column for price so I can keep track of how much we're spending on gifts. Usually when I have a gift idea, I'll write it in pencil, and then once I've bought it, I'll write it in pen. I'm bringing in this light beige color to make some rows. I'm separating each row to be 2 squares tall, and you'll see I actually got off track with my colors, so one of the rows is going to be 3 spaces. I thought about using whiteout to try to fix it, but I was just too lazy and thought it might look even worse, so we're just gonna leave it. Now we're going to start decorating around the table, and this is the spread where I'm going to bring in a new tape. But first I'm getting some of those base elements down. I really like how this grid tape looks on the edge, and I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut it around the table so it looks like it's going behind. This is the Silent Night wide tape from the WASHI tape shop. I love the color palette of this one and this recurring hedgehog and a lot of the images. This one doesn't have the kiss cut lines, so I'm using my knife and this mini cutting mat to cut out the images I want. Like I mentioned, I've been really enjoying this junk journal style of journaling, mostly in my reading journal, but it's kind of nice when you don't want to do a lot of drawing. And it really is fun to just play around with the collage. It is also kind of stressful though, and I know that's my issue with perfectionism coming out again, but when I draw my setups, I can completely sketch everything out before actually committing to it, whereas with junk journaling, you kind of have to just trust the process. Make the design decisions as you go and hope that the chaos looks good at the end. It feels a little bit like a trust exercise, which I think is actually probably good for me to take a step back and intentionally enjoy the process without worrying too much about the end product. I'm finishing off the page with some more sparkles, of course. I'm actually going to skip the next 2 pages and go ahead and start on the last spread for this video, which is my December weekly. But I'm leaving those other 2 pages for a holiday memories spread. I'm just going to make that one a little later because I was running short on time when I was filming this, but I'll try to post a picture of those pages on my Instagram when I make them. Like I said, these next 2 pages here will be my first December weekly. Kind of. I don't necessarily designate ahead of time how many days this space will last me, but I'll explain that in a second. I'm starting off with a title and mini calendar on the left side, and now I'm drawing a big border for where I'll record all my daily logs. I don't make preset spaces for each day because I have no idea how much I'm going to need each day. I use my journal for writing my schedule and tasks, but I also do a lot of general journaling and writing notes, and I just like being able to have as much space as I want. So I drew my first daily header in the left column. I'll use as much space as I need for that Monday, and then at the start of the next day, I'll write my Tuesday header on the next row available. Whenever I run out of space on these 2 pages, then I'll just flip the page and make this same spread layout. A lot of times these do end up lasting me around a week, but if I need more or less space than that, I just go with it. I'm making a little area for tasks on the left. Similarly, this isn't necessarily a weekly task list, but it's where I put my next up priorities from my monthly list. The only thing this spread is missing is a place to write my events coming up. I know I can flip back to my monthly log, but I wish I could also see them here. I tried adding an event section to these pages last month, but it just felt a little awkward since these pages weren't on a direct weekly basis, so I didn't know what dates of events to include. Again, we'll see what layouts I'm going to go with in my new journal for next year because I do want to take some time to evaluate my planning routine. That's what I love about bullet journaling. If I have a pattern that works for me, I can just keep on making it. And if things change or I want to try a new system, I can also easily test that out. I'm adding a few decorations in the daily logs box. I'll just write around these. I love the daily journals I see online where people decorate with a bunch of stickers and drawings and stuff, and the writing is squeezed in around that. So I'm trying to go for that look. You may have noticed I tore out the word andante from the music book, which means a slow tempo. And I thought that would actually be a lovely sentiment to have in my weekly. The holiday season can get so busy and hectic, but it's nice to slow down and have moments where we can just appreciate this time of year. Who knew this music book would actually be so full of these poetic words and phrases? And that's it for my December bullet journal setup. We'll do a final flip through to see all the finished spreads. I love this soft, festive theme. I know I'm going to really enjoy being in these pages throughout December. I hope you enjoyed this setup as well. Feel free to subscribe if you want to catch all the exciting New Year's and planning content I have coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm wishing you a beautiful December and happy holidays.